Living can be expensive, and sometimes we have to become nocturnal to support our daily lives. Today, we have 3 terrifying experiences that may make you want to stick with a day shift. Now, without further hesitation, let's begin. Number 1. It was around 2 a.m., halfway through a grueling night shift. It was at the old abandoned state hospital, a great place to catch up on reports or Netflix. There's a big empty parking lot to sit in with plenty of streetlights. There's also a very predictable urban legend surrounding the place, so it's a pretty safe bet that I won't be bothered by some overly friendly citizen or angsty teenagers with cell phones. So I'm typing up this report from a domestic I'd handled earlier. The FM radio was droning in the background. All of a sudden, my handheld police radio lets out this deafening crack. I swear I just about hit my head on the roof of the car. I jumped so badly, it sounded like a goddamn gunshot. It was so loud. I changed the volume knob to low. I'm not a jumpy guy, but that scared the shit out of me. My heart was absolutely hammering in my chest. Blood was pounding away at my eardrums. I got out of the car to stretch my legs and calm down a little bit, laughing at my own foolishness. It had started to rain, a soft but cold drizzle. Fog had begun to settle outside the lot, blanketing the huge yard surrounding the hospital. I casted an angry glance at the radio. Budget cuts have been killing police departments all over the country. A small rural department like mine has gotten slammed. We switched over to some of the cheapest police radios money can buy, just to be able to keep our 2 cruisers serviced. I figured that crack I'd heard was some kind of glitch. I pressed the rubber talk button with my thumb, bringing the piece of junk to my lips. County, how do you read this unit?
Loud and clear, 107.
A woman's strained voice replied with a slight rasp to the words.
How do you read me?
I almost dropped the radio. Tom's the only one working county dispatch tonight. Their only female employee got caught lying. Some kind of bogus sexual harassment complaint. And they canned her about 2 months ago. My hands were trembling slightly as I brought the radio back up to my mouth. 107 to county. Go ahead, 107. Tom sounded as though I'd just woken from a nap. Tom, is it just you at the comm center tonight? Yeah, 10-4. Just me. He sounded confused, and rightfully so. Suddenly, another earth-shattering crack made me actually drop it onto the cold pavement this time. It wasn't just the noise. I felt something. It was almost like a really low electric shock that had my fingers tingling. The radio somehow didn't break when it clattered against the ground, but I wish it had. I was suddenly and acutely aware that I was being watched. You pick up on things like that after you've been on the job long enough. I didn't remember unholstering my pistol, yet its comforting weight rested in my right hand nonetheless. I scanned the impenetrable foggy blackness as my hair dampened under an increasingly steady rain. I couldn't see a thing. That's when I looked up, and my heart stopped beating in my chest. A distant flicker of white light. I walked to the edge of the lot, just on the outskirts of the protective orange street lamps, squinting up at a small orb. At the very top of the abandoned asylum, one window was glowing ominously. There was a light on in that room.
107.
My eye snapped towards her silky voice, trailing from the forgotten radio still lying on the ground next to my car. I glanced back up towards that window, now as dark as 1,000 other windows that stared down at me from that sinister building. Continuously trembling fingers clicked off the radio, the glowing LED screen blinking out. I tried to figure out which window I'd seen, or thought I'd seen light from.
107. Come in, 107.
The chilling voice was now laced with something. Was it amusement I heard? I had enough. Dirt and gravel kicked up into the night sky as I peeled out of the parking lot and away from that damnable building. I didn't go back. I haven't told anyone about what happened. The last thing I need is a mandated mental health evaluation. And before you bitch at me for not checking the place for a possible burglar, there's nothing to steal there. Thieves have gutted the place of copper piping years ago. It's just an old rotted mansion with nothing worth even looking at inside. I need a clean head if I'm going to approach whatever this is. And last night was not the night. I'm off for the next few days. If I can muster up enough courage, I might try to investigate this further when I'm back. Number 2. I work for an EMS company in the South. I don't want to give out too much information to protect myself and the others whom I work with. This is one of those jobs I enjoyed and always wanted to take the next step by trying the night shifts and get to know how the other side of the population lives. It was fun and enjoyable at first, but, well, things can change pretty quick in this type of career field. On my first night shift, it started off pretty calm. I just had a few pickups for falls or homeless drunks just wandering into convenience stores. Nothing major. I held myself pretty well. I was still a little nervous, but not entirely flustered when I get on scene. Well, me and my partner stopped to get a quick bite to eat at our local Taco Bell, and as we came out, a homeless man stumbles over to us from across the street and mutters something under his breath. I mutter under my breath, "Jesus, not again." First, let me say, I'm not an asshole, but working in this field, you learn pretty quickly people can change with the snap of a finger, especially those who are drunk and homeless. Anyways, he just walks across the street and is almost halfway across when this white Honda Civic is speeding off in the distance. As he gets closer, you can hear his tin can exhaust rattling and echoing throughout the night air. The car begins to slow down, and the exhaust is not as audible as the car comes more into focus. The windows roll down and two men wearing clown masks stop the car. Me and my partner look at each other and begin to back up. The door swings open and these two guys come out of the car. The one closer to us pulled his chair forward and reached into the back of the car. As me and my partner get into the truck, we begin to dispatch for the local police to head to our current position for suspicious disturbance. As the man who was reaching comes to a full stance with a machete, the other man, the driver, was now holding a bat with barbed wire. The homeless man was now about 25 feet from our ambulance and is stumbling, with a brown paper bag wrapped around a bottle. The two men started walking over, and the man with the machete goes at the homeless man's kneecap. Whack! The man collapses to the ground as his leg is now facing the other direction. His stump was touching the pavement, and the other leg was spread out as if he was resting on it. The man with the bat comes running up and with a hard whack hits the man in the head. If any of you have come across those live leak videos and actually listen to the sound of the audio, the best way I can describe the sound of this is hearing a chicken bone break with the sound of a wet mop slapping against the floor. And all this can be heard with our windows down, about 1/4 of the way. The police sirens are now echoing in the distance, and the two men look at us and tilt their heads to the side, like a dog if you make noise. They clearly can hear the sirens and look down at the man on the ground who is now having a seizure. Both men bend down and each grab a side of the homeless man and bring him to the trunk of their car and throw him in. Before they shut the trunk, the man with the bat raises his hands over his head and slams down on the man in the trunk, breaking the bat at the handle, and part of the bat laid in the center of the street. After that, the men ran into the car and peeled out. The car vanished off into the distance down a dirt path. By the time the police got there, which was 2 minutes later, the vehicle was gone. Around 2 a.m., my partner and I went back to the base after informing the cops about what we saw. The license plate number was given to them, and a brief description of the two men whom we saw. Since we just got back, I couldn't shake what the fuck I just saw for the life of me. My mind couldn't focus on anything else. All I could think of was the sounds and the crack of that bat. As the night progressed, it was relatively quiet for the remainder of the night, until around 5:30 a.m. We received a call to a dead-end street about 3 blocks from where our base was. The dispatcher at the time only informed us about a 32-year-old male laying unconscious in the middle of the street. We checked en route, and we were heading to the address when a dispatch was sent for our truck to stay back. The dispatcher said something along the lines of, "A58, officers want you to stand nearby and wait for the scene to be clear. A weapon was found at the scene. 10-4, A58 standing by." About 10 minutes later, dispatch clears us to come through. As we roll up to the scene, there's a Spanish man who was laying on his stomach, but had multiple gunshots to his chest and abdomen. "A58 out," my partner said over the radio. We get out and I grab our bag and aid, and we get over to the patient. As I get to the patient, I had a taste of copper in my mouth. I get down and me and my partner roll him over as easily as we could so we can check the man's pulse. As we rolled this man over, he had multiple gunshots to his abdomen and chest. As I made my eyes up to his face, his mouth was wide open, his cheeks were torn open, and his teeth were missing. Looking towards the street, I noticed there was blood from the middle of the street, where the man was found, to the curb just 9 feet away. At the location of the curb, teeth and blood had been scattered. The man was curb stomped and managed to stay alive and make an attempt to crawl to the center of the street, only to be shot a total of 7 times. Luckily, my first night shift was coming to an end, and I felt really uneasy about how the night had progressed. It was around 7:20 a.m., just 40 more minutes until I can sleep and enjoy my next couple days off. At this point, my mind needed it. That's when we get a knock on our back entrance door. My partner goes over to open the door. Outside was the officer from our Taco Bell visit. He informs us that around 5:45, the fire department and the police department were dispatched to a vehicle fire about a mile north away from Taco Bell on a strip of wooded road that was mainly used by people in the city as a dump. The road was littered with trash, fridges, dead animals, washers and dryers, and occasionally, vehicles. The car was engulfed in flames by the time both departments had been informed. When the fire had eventually been put out around 6:30 or so, the entire cushion and interior of the vehicle was gone. Nothing but metal outlining remained. The police department looked for identification, VIN number, or something that may have been dropped to give them any idea whose vehicle it was. During the investigation, the remains of a body was found. Number 3. So, I'm going to hop straight into this. I'm an American police officer in the upper Midwest of the country. I'd get more into detail, but I feel like this is the type of shit that needs to stay vague. Pardon my language, but I'm shooting for answers here. I'm not trying to win any awards. That being said, this is going to be the nitty-gritty of what happens. No flair, no fibs, just the honest truth. As a police officer and former confinement guard, I've seen some shit. Literally, shit. People slathered in it. Throw a guy in a cell and the first protest he does is going to involve it. That's explainable though. They know we don't want to deal with them when they're covered in fecal matter. That's why they do it. What gets to me personally though, is something that I experienced on the road that isn't natural. It's not explainable, especially to a rockhead like me. The night this happened was during the start of spring. It was my partner's first day out on patrol, and I was the guy lucky enough to take care of him. But I didn't mind it too much at the time, to be honest. He was a good kid. Besides, we worked nights, so having some company that would distract me from falling asleep wasn't all that bad. The first night with someone new usually involves a good deal of introductions and a greater deal of fuckery, but that only gets you through half the night. Once that custom's over, the only thing left to do is to ask them about themselves. And of course, that was the excuse I used to get off the road for a bit. That night, I pulled my patrol vehicle down a dirt path off the main road. That road in particular doesn't lead anywhere. It just goes off near some hills and loops back to the entrance. This is the type of road a lazy cop like me loves. Only one entrance and plenty of space to hide in the darkness. And it's far from the main road as well. On a normal night, I would rack out in my seat and wake up just in time for changeover at the station. I know, I'm a horrible cop, yada yada, but nothing happens out here, and if it did, I was never late to the show. So, that night, me and my partner parked the vehicle about 1.5 miles into the darkness and shut off our lights. We were perfectly invisible from the main road. We made sure that we tucked ourselves on the path behind a hill. We couldn't see the road, therefore, the road couldn't see us. Good logic, right? For about an hour, we were camped out there bullshitting with each other, when lo and behold, some headlights hit us. I remember thinking, fuck, this is it, I'm about to lose my job. Sure enough, pulling up right beside us was our supervisor's vehicle. I rolled my windows down, and so did he. I saw a grin on his face. Oh, you sleep out here too? We both laughed about it, and fooled around for a little while. I got lucky. He was in a good mood, and the fact that he's the type of guy to admit that he's no better than us. Had that been an inspector, we would have been on the curb, quick. Now, here's where the weird part starts. Our station is about 15 minutes from our little hiding spot. Our supervisor tells us that he's heading back to the station to heat up some food, and that he'll be right back. So, he takes off. Me and my partner go back to sitting in the complete darkness, talking to each other about something I frankly can't even remember. 15 minutes goes by since our supervisor left, and we get some headlights that hit us again. I remember looking at my partner and saying, "He's back early." I told my partner to roll down his window, and I flashed our lights at him. Clear as day, we saw the vehicle pass us. Chevy, same make and model as our supervisors, same license plates, same everything. Inside was pitch black. We couldn't see a thing through it. But that's not unusual at night. The patrol vehicle passed us and kept going further down the road. He must have wanted to go further back, I thought. Once again, this isn't too strange. He was probably worried that someone from the road might get lucky and see us. So, I put our vehicle in drive and turned around. Only losing sight of this vehicle for all of 30 seconds. Once we made a full 180, I remember seeing how far up the path his headlights were, and kicking on the gas to catch up. This is where things get weird. Once they hit the loop at the end of the path, they had to turn around and face us. Our headlights hit them dead on, and I can tell you, it wasn't one of our patrol vehicles. They still had government plates, but the numbers were different than ours. The truck itself was a large, all-terrain vehicle, a newer model. It kind of looked like a Sierra 1500, for those of you who know trucks. But this one had a few upgrades to it. For one, it had a spotlight on top of its roof. 2, it had a large visible cage in their truck's bed. I didn't turn my sight from their truck, but I spoke out to my partner. "What the hell is this? You saw the patrol vehicle pass us, right? Big badge on the side?" I heard my partner give out a mumbled, "Yup." I could tell he was staring at the vehicle in front of us. No one else is supposed to be on these roads. I tore my eyes over to my partner and saw him nod while staring at the truck in front of us. We both had the feeling of something being wrong. I decided we needed to get some answers from these people, so I started to slowly drive up to the driver's side window, and as I did, I noticed our lights couldn't pierce through their windows. Once we matched our driver's side to theirs, we began to roll down our windows, and so did they. As soon as I tried to look at whoever was in the vehicle, my sight went to shit. Everything went blurry as hell. It was like having an intense migraine without the pain going alongside it. It was a comfortable fog in my eyes and in my head. I did manage to get out some words though. "Hey, who are you, and what are you doing out here?" I squinted in their direction, trying to see anything at all from inside the truck. All I could make out was a smaller cage in their back seat, just like the ones we have in our police vehicles. As soon as I could make out that much, I tried adjusting my sight on the driver. All I could make out was 2 shadowy blurs in the passenger seat and 1 in the driver's seat of the truck. I felt like my brain was melting down. I wouldn't have been able to connect 2 things together if they were both tied to a string. I suppose, luckily for us, we got a reply from these blurs. The driver speaking to us had a deep southern voice. As he spoke, he sounded so sure of himself, like he had the devil's tongue on his side. This is what he told us. "We're night shift. We patrol the roads." I remember nodding at the blurry driver and mumbling alright to him. He rolled up his window and took off in his truck. It took us a few seconds to contemplate what just happened. I even looked at my partner with a "what the fuck just happened" expression on my face. But he spoke up before I did. "What the hell was that? I couldn't see a damn thing. Why'd we let them go? And what they said doesn't make any sense. We're night shift. So, who the hell are they?" I can't tell you why I didn't ask them more questions, or why I let them go. But I did. At this point in time, I knew they couldn't be too far ahead of us, so I zipped our truck around and headed after them. We caught sight of the tail end of their vehicle as soon as it hit the main road. It was still the same black truck as we saw earlier, so we decided to follow them. Now we didn't have a reason to pull them over at this point. They weren't supposed to be on the dirt paths around here, but it wasn't breaking a law, and I, for whatever reason, already let them go for that. All we could do was keep tabs on them. We ended up radioing our supervisor while this was going on to get his location. We were sure he passed us earlier in his patrol truck. We figured maybe we didn't see him in the darkness of the path and ended up passing him before bumping into the black truck first. His reply over the radio was that he was still at the station and that he'd be on his way soon. Me and my partner shared a "what the hell is going on" look. It only took about 5 minutes of us tailing them to see them head off another dirt path near some train tracks. Anything not in the main road was pitch black, so we lost sight of them for about 3 seconds before we turned on our spotlight. And you know what we saw? Nothing. Absolutely nothing but a dirt road heading off alongside the train tracks. No signs of headlights in the distance, no signs of tire marks, just an old flat road. Me and my partner got the hell out of there and returned to our station. We told the supervisor what happened, and he laughed it off, but said we should have called for backup. So, why the hell didn't we? Why the hell didn't we do anything at all? I wish I had an answer, but I don't. All I can say is, for some reason, my head wasn't in the right place at the time. I don't think I'll be switching shifts anytime soon. I want to wish my North American viewers a happy 4th of July. And of course, to everyone, thank you so much for your support. And feel free to like, comment, and if you want more, subscribe. Even if you have the day off tomorrow, you guys stay safe out there. Until next time.